Social Live, QPTV.org's live daily show. I'm your host for today, James. Let's get started. Happy Monday, everyone. Got a lot going on today's show, so let's get right to it. First, we have an alert for you. QPTV's channels and website are currently under construction and maintenance. We ask for your patience while we make things better. Program submissions to QPTV's web file upload portal are not currently available. Please do not send in your files for processing via web or email. The programming department will contact producers about their programs as soon as possible. Welcome back. Let's get into what's going on. As you can see, City and State's 2021 second annual digital New York event will take what they have done for years with their in-person events and transform the program with situations that have come out of COVID-19. It will continue to gather New York's information leaders from government and industry for a dynamic program of candid discussion and thought-provoking presentations on the innovative ideas being used to improve the delivery of services to both citizens and government agencies. And you can watch this on QPTV.org tomorrow at 1 p.m. We'll have that for you. And of course, once that's done, we'll have that for you to watch later on as well. But we'll be previewing that tomorrow, hopefully before the show, but don't forget to check it out right here on QPTV.org. If you haven't seen it, last Friday we had a simulcast of the New York Women in Government series. Let's show you a little preview of that, and of course that's on QPTV.org as well. The audio up here. Try that again. All right, we're gonna have to fix that problem. In the meantime, let's jump back in to another quick break and we'll be right back. let's try that again. There we go. Let's go a little further into it. Maybe get a little introduction of what this is. You get a good idea of what's happening.
And they're about to share insights
Check it out.
that you won't want to miss. Now, first, it's my pleasure to introduce Camille C. Joseph Goldman. She's a Group Vice President for Government Affairs at Charter Communications. In this role, Mrs. Joseph Goldman oversees and manages all government affairs, strategic partnerships and investments, consumer protection, and telecommunications regulation from New Jersey to Maine, which includes the company's large presence in New York State and throughout New England. Welcome, Camille.
Thanks so much, Cheryl. And I'm very proud to be part of this event today and to represent my company, Spectrum, which is sponsoring the talk series. Personally, as a Black woman who has spent her career in various roles, from advocacy to government and now to the private sector, I'm delighted to be at an event that is shining a light on women in all of these key spaces. Professionally, I'm fortunate as a senior executive at Spectrum that I'm not only able to assist with uplifting constituency groups in a manner that helps both the communities we serve and our customers, but I'm happy to be part of a company that gets why that's important. In addition to leading a team throughout the Northeast, as you mentioned, from Bangor, Maine to Harlem, New York, a key part of my responsibilities is to maintain an authentic standard of cultural competency through my leadership and through our community engagement. I'm expected to know what's going on, from the political trends to what's happening in each region to what government officials are working on in a way that elevates the communities we serve. And that's a personal mission of mine, and that's why I'm here today. Some of the amazing women we'll be hearing from in a few minutes have a very high profile, like our esteemed keynote speaker, my leader, State Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, and others work behind the scenes to mold good decisions and public policy. But we all have two things in common. We have a strong and meaningful voice in our own organizations. And we have the means to bring issues to the forefront, to educate others on important matters, and to advocate for those who lack a voice. Arguably, there has been no greater voice for the voiceless than our keynote speaker today, the Honorable Andrea Stewart-Cousins. If I described her and all of her accomplishments, we'd be here all day. But let me just say that she is truly a champion for all of us. And I can think of no better way than kicking off a Women in Government talk series than with a leader that has paved the way for women across the nation. I've had the privilege of knowing our leader for most of my professional career, and she remains an inspiration to me and so many through her grace and her leadership. As the first woman to ever lead the Senate conference at a time such as this, I can think of no one more formidable for the task at hand in government. It is my distinct honor to introduce our fabulous Majority Leader of the New York State Senate, Andrea Stewart-Cousins.
Thank you so much, Camille. It is such a pleasure for me to be part of this incredible gathering of women in government and women who influence women in government, such as yourself. And I really want to thank you for putting this great event together, and also obviously city and state for.
That's just a little bit of that. It's a preview. Of course, you can watch the entire program on QPTV.org anytime. And now, let's talk about PoliticsNY City Council debates. We've been simulcasting a bunch of these. And of course, we've been focusing on Queens. And we have some upcoming ones that are outside of the City Council elections. We have Queensborough coming up, and then the mayoral. We'll be bringing those updates to you as soon as we can. But you can go to QPTV.org and check out what we have there now. And we will be letting you know of an upcoming section on the web that will be primarily focused on the elections this year, where you can look at all these debates on demand, but as well get information on voting, ranked choice voting, of course, and a few other surprises coming up soon. So look for that on QPTV.org. Let's take a quick look at one of these debates. I'm not even sure which one this is, I have to admit, but as we get them all together for you, we'll be able to watch any of them on demand. And of course, this is from PoliticsNY.com, from Schnaps Media. Let's take a look at that. Let's see if we could jump ahead here.
The city council to say to the Department of Sanitation, to the Department of Buildings, Department of Consumer Affairs, you're not doing the job you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to educate first, then if they don't comply, issue a fine.
Can I just jump in on that as a reporter here? I've done several stories in the last 8 years. The Progressive Caucus, they did legislation, the paid family sick leave thing. And I've known other small business owners that felt that that was never really explained to them. And there almost seems in the city council a movement that's kind of heavily regulating small business. And as city council people, your job is oversight over and legislation over the executive branch. And you know, I've talked to several small business people. There was also an issue where people had wrong signage up, and the city was just going around and fining people for the signage $3,000. Mm-hmm. Would you look for legislation that would kind of help small business or maybe curtail certain kinds of legislation so far for small business specifically on family paid leave? And
I would be surprised if any of the candidates said no to that. I think we're all going to say yes to that, especially given COVID, getting these small businesses to reopen and to make it easy for them. I've always been a proponent. One of the big issues facing small business has been escalating rents. I was a prime sponsor of legislation when I was in the council, when I was in the Senate, supporting the city council legislation for mediation of escalating rents. Because if you ask small business owners, what was the biggest problem they face? Yes, fines was an issue, but escalating rents. I mean, at the time, I remember there was one business owner who came to me.
So you favor the small business, do you favor the small bit, what's it called? The small business?
I believe this was District 19. But nonetheless, you can check these out on QPTV.org, and we're bringing you a lot more in the near future. Let's take a quick break to tell you about what's happening, or rather how you can let us know what's happening via QPTV's Community Bulletin Board. We'll be right back. You're watching QPTV Daily Social Live. You can find QPTV anywhere on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitch. But you could also email us directly, media@qptv.org, if you have any questions or comments, whether it's about the show or it's about any of QPTV's programs. Not just the shows, but the different ways you can find out how to watch, learn, and create. Or channels. Obviously on Spectrum, RCN, and Files. Save it to your remote favorites. You could always go to qptv.org. Hey, it's me. Go to qptv.org to find out everything. Let's get back to more show. See, what were we up to? We did not get to the state legislative forum. Queens, brought to you again by City and State New York. Let's jump right into it because I think it's rather interesting. Let's go to the... Let's bring up...
And one very vocal advocate to discuss all the latest. I'm Zach Williams, Senior State Politics Reporter at City and State. Super excited for this event, which we could not have gotten done without the help of our great sponsor, AARP New York. So much is going on nowadays. The state budget just passed a few weeks ago with all sorts of provisions affecting older folks. And there are just a few more weeks to go before the state Senate and Assembly adjourn for the summer. And then there is the coronavirus, which is still lurking in plain sight as the economic reopening process really begins to pick up steam. So let's get started. I'm going to introduce each of our panelists. Please just give a little wave to the audience so we know who we're talking about. First up, we got State Senator Joseph Addabbo Jr. of the 15th District, State Senator Leroy Comrie of the 14th District, State Senator John Liu of the 11th District, Assemblymember Catalina Cruz of the 39th District, State Senator Jessica Ramos of the 13th District, Assemblymember Brian Barnwell of the 30th District, Assemblymember Jennifer Raj Kumar of District 38, and we also got Kevin Jones, Associate State Director of Advocacy at AARP New York, and hopefully in a little bit, Assemblymember Jeffrey Aubrey of District 35 will be able to give us a little bit of time by jumping off the floor where I believe he's currently presiding over the Assembly session. So let's jump right into it.
As you can hear, there's quite a lineup on this forum. So what you'll want to do, of course, go to qptv.org. I can't stress that enough. So you can watch the entire program that's available right now for you to watch. And we've also got, from City and State New York, we simulcast the 2021 State Labor Power 100. That's the list of the the state's labor for the labor leaders. And actually, for this one, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. We'll go jump past the introductions. You can see a little bit further into the program, and we'll check that out right now.
Share of taxes. Now, I didn't get my way, or at least not yet, but it was important to really have New Yorkers understand just how deep inequality is here in New York. There is enough wealth, there is enough money for New Yorkers to lead better lives. And so I'm looking forward to having these and many other conversations with my colleagues, with allies, with other stakeholders who are looking to improve the economy in a way that is inclusive and just for all. There are, of course, many topics that we can touch today. With the Department of Labor, a lot of my work is, of course, in providing oversight, and I've been very disappointed at how the Department of Labor has been able to handle, the process of making claims for unemployment insurance. I've slowly but surely been passing bills to give the Workers' Compensation Board a better face. And I, of course, am now hoping that the Department of Labor helps us put forth the best possible excluded workers program, implemented with the workers in mind, certainly pushing for language access and for deep accessibility. For all of these things, our state agencies need to properly be funded. And unfortunately, the austerity politics of the current governor.
Lost audio there. All right, so also coming up, we've got, so check that out on qptv.org. We've also got the virtual town hall on mental health. This was on May 6th. Yeah, there it is, May 6th. This was brought to you by Jessica Gonzalez Rojas, assembly member from Queens. Let's jump into this one. Take a look. Go a little further deep into the program. We played a little bit in the beginning last week. Spoiler, where Senator Chuck Schumer was a speaker. And we'll jump into more of, I can't remember the specific point, but we'll start here. Is any good place. But the idea is for you to go to the website and watch the entire thing. So if you're upset that I'm skipping over a piece that you want to watch, you could just watch it on the website. Here we go.
The negativity oftentimes that they're, and they don't have that support. I know I'm a very social person, so this has been a difficult time, although as a candidate and now as an elected, I'm sort of out and about, but being very cognizant of being safe and following all procedures, but it's been still a difficult time. Alba, I'm going to go back to you. I think, we were talking sort of how to care for self and how to check in on self, but what are some signs we should be mindful of the loved ones in our life to make sure that they're doing well and they're remaining healthy? What are some practical things to look for, signs, signals, anything that we can hold as we again begin this phase of transition?
Sure. No one's mental health at this point is in stellar shape, right? So with that sort of disclaimer, we want to look at everything in context and with some relativity. But that being said, I would say one of the biggest red flags that people can really pay attention to is really what both June and Jessica have been saying in one way or another, which is the reduction or loss of connection, the isolation. We've been living in a state of contraction for a year, and now we're being asked to kind of slowly unfold and take up more space in a way, but even that with such caution and with being out of practice, there's some long-term effects. So we're all exhausted to a certain extent, but I would say that usually if someone is expressing care, we tend to perk up, right? So we see someone who's kind of laying low, we reach out and, if there isn't that typical response, it could be a sign that someone's entered a different level of need. And it's really important to not avoid the topic and to not assume, oh, they're a young person, they're a kid, or everyone turns out okay in the end. One of the worst sayings that gets repeated often, that people will be fine and they'll just be okay. That's not really the case. And when we're talking about mental health, we're talking about largely invisible phenomena. So we have to really use a different lens when we're looking at folks, and we're looking at them as individuals, and we're looking at them in context and in systems. And one of the themes of your platform and this community really is that the people who are most vulnerable are usually the most affected. So if you're really identifying a marginalized way by way of race, gender, sexual orientation, all of the above, then it's extra important that we're looking out for those folks, whether they're in our family, whether they're in our community, and to reach out and to be direct about it, to make space for whatever their response is.
Thank you so much. Jessica, can you?
And there, you can watch that program in its entirety. It's especially important right now when things are starting to open up again. Spring is here. It doesn't hurt to check this program out to see how it can help with your overall better well-being. Check that out on QPTV.org today. We've also got Asian American Community Mayoral Candidates Forum 2021 race for New York City Mayor. You can take a look at the candidates. This was brought to you by the CACF. Let's take a quick look at this. This is a pretty in-depth forum. I highly recommend watching it if you're trying to determine what the stances are of the candidates, the number of them. QPTV is bringing you all this programming to help inform you, the viewer. I want to jump in. I did not plan to go to this clip today, so let's just jump in and see what we can hear.
And it reads as a hate crime, but the attacker needed mental health resources, like prior to that attack.
You mentioned that there was someone who didn't want to breathe a word of it. How do we create a safe space so that the Asian American community does feel more comfortable in speaking up? Because as horrifying as these numbers are in terms of the data of these incidents, there are so many more incidents that have gone unreported or underreported. So how do we create that safe space for this community?
A lot of it is in investing in organizations that build those kinds of bonds with people in the community, where frankly many of the individuals involved have a language barrier to overcome. So if they're in touch with a community org that speaks to them in their language that they trust, they're much more likely to come forward. A lot of Asian Americans, and I can say this, being an Asian American myself, you think to yourself, okay, like what is going to be the value of my reporting this? Like, is anything going to happen? Is my assailant going to face repercussions of some kind? And so I think a lot of people in the community will say, well, it's not important for me to come forward, even though it's vitally important for people to come forward. But you should expect that you're going to have to invest again in community orgs that are building these kinds of connections, rather than expecting, frankly, an elderly Asian woman to call up the NYPD, because that's going to be a bridge too far for many people in our community.
All right, thank you, candidates. Let's move on to our next question, and it has to do with systemic racism. We mentioned the rise in anti-Asian hate crimes as of late in the last year in particular, but really this is nothing new. There has been racism against Asians since our first Asian American.
Excellent questions, but you have to go to QPTV.org to see the entire program. It's not going anywhere, folks. Check it out today, though, because while that content isn't running away, you'll need to be informed as soon as possible. The primary is coming up very soon, and you need to be informed. And within the next hopefully few days, we'll be telling you about a new place on QPTV.org. Let's bring up the website. QPTV.org, where you'll be able to find all the local election information in one place. It'll probably be called Election Center, QPTV Election Center. Don't have a preview yet, but imagine all of the programs you're seeing collected in one place, like we do with the rest of the pages on QPTV. If you go to watch any of QPTV's original programs, we have it's not all on the site. You can find it anywhere on the site, but if you go to specific pages like QPTV.org, QC for Queen's Conversations, or QPTV.org Queen's Perspectives for Queen's Perspectives, you'll find programming specific to that program, and we will have a page on QPTV.org that will be specific to the election and voting and all information related to this year's election cycle. And it's specific to Queens, so it will be focusing on the neighborhoods and the districts and the issues that matter to you most as a Queens resident, or someone who works in Queens, or just someone who has a thirst for knowledge and information. So check out QPTV.org today and make sure you're signed up and linked up on our social media so that you can check us out. We'll be happy to link up with you, respond, and we'll get back to you. We'll make sure that you know everything that's going on, everything that's coming up. We got a lot happening. You could also contact us directly using any of those social media profiles or through our email, media@qptv.org. All right, let's check out. I believe I left off here. Virtual Queen's Day. And as you know, if you don't know, the Queens Chamber of Commerce, they gather up some fine folks and they get on a bus. They head up to Albany. And this usually goes on every year, but due to COVID, that's been virtually impossible. So they've taken it virtual. And with that comes there's a silver lining to that dark cloud, where not only do we get to meet with the Queens delegation from the Senate State Assembly, we also get to talk to some other wonderful representatives from Queens. So let's actually jump into this one. Take a look. I'll head into the middle somewhere. Let's check this out.
Pretty much right on schedule, which is a great thing. I want to reintroduce Assemblywoman Hyman to do some focus on some of the her fellow Assembly folks.
I have no problem doing that. I'm looking at the screen and I'm looking at which colleagues are in the room. So I'll start with David Weprin. You're on. So Dave, if you could just, say which businesses that you've highlighted so that Tom won't send me dirty text messages talking about your members talk too much. So
no problem. I too, I'm looking forward to going back to Albany for the traditional Queens night, because certainly the food and drinks are much better up there. But I want to thank the two Toms, Tom Santucci, who I know for more years than either of us want to admit to, but Tom Gresh, who I've gotten to know very well over the last, 4 or so years. And I was very involved with the chamber because Tom mentioned my former chief of staff, Jack Friedman, and we all miss Jack, and he really was very helpful. I think Alicia's given me signals about getting to the businesses, but I will. Tonight, I'm happy to honor two organizations in my assembly district, the South Asian American Voice and DH Care. Voice is a community-based, nonpartisan 501c3. Voice aims to build bridges and empower the next generation of South Asian and Indo-Caribbean Americans. They do so by promoting a unified community voice for collective actions and rights. Throughout the pandemic, Voice provided information, education, and access to legal and social services. We have a number of representatives from Voice, Imrul Kabir, Casey Chetty, Satnam Prahar Singh. The next organization I'd like to honor from my district is DH Care, a small essential business in my district. DH Care provides home care for our senior population so that they can remain in their homes. The long-term and adoptive services of DH Care is an alternative to a nursing home. There's nothing like the safety and comfort of a home someone earned through hard work and frugality. DH Care's dedicated staff of medical professionals and aides offer quality nursing, personal care, physical therapy, and much more to the seniors of our community. Families can have peace of mind knowing that their loved ones.
Thanks, David.
And Shah Rahman is here tonight representing DH Care. So
thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. You know,
You're
love
quite
you.
welcome.
Thank you. Next, we move to Assemblymember Ed Braunstein, my colleague in the north of where I am. Go ahead, Ed.
Thank you, Alicia. And I'll try to be quick. I see that you're serious. And I just want to start by thanking Tom Gretsch and everybody from the chamber. It's been a really difficult year, but you've been out there on the front lines and communicating with everybody. And we appreciate all the work that you've done, and we'll look forward to working with you as we start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So the business that I'd like to recognize tonight is Bagel Park.
Not to cut him off, but please, if you want to watch the entire program, you can go to QPTV.org right now. And while you're at QPTV.org, if you need to know any information on anything related to QPTV, it is there. And if not, you could always email us at media@qptv.org or reach us through any one of our social media channels right there on the screen, or email us directly, media@qptv.org. All right, let's jump around a little bit. Before we finish up, I want to have a little something to play for you. This week at NASA. Let's check it out.
Headed back to Earth, a key pre-launch milestone for the Webb Space Telescope, and adding a third dimension to some cool imagery. A few of the stories to tell you about this week at NASA. On May 10th, NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft bid farewell to near-Earth asteroid Bennu. OREX then began its journey back to Earth with an abundance of sample material it scooped up from Bennu last October. This image captured in early April is the last one taken of the asteroid by OSIRIS-REx. After orbiting the Sun twice, the spacecraft is due to reach Earth September 24, 2023. That is when the capsule containing the sample material will separate from the spacecraft, enter Earth's atmosphere, and make a parachute-assisted landing in Utah's West Desert. For the last time, while the James Webb Space Telescope is still on Earth, the telescope's 6.5-meter primary mirror was commanded to fully expand and lock itself into place, just like it will when it gets to space. Webb will be the world's premier space science observatory when it launches later this year. It will help solve mysteries in our solar system, look to distant worlds around other stars beyond our solar system, and probe the mysterious structures and origins of our universe and our place in it. Steve Jerzik, who has served as NASA's Associate Administrator since May 2018 and most recently filled in as Acting NASA Administrator, retired on Friday, May 14th after more than 3 decades at the agency. Former astronaut Bob Cabana will take over as Associate Administrator effective Monday, May 17th. Cabana, who has served as Director of our Kennedy Space Center since 2008, is a veteran of 4 space flights with more than 910 hours in space. NASA and Axiom Space have signed an order for the first private astronaut mission to the International Space Station. Axiom Mission 1 will launch from our Kennedy Space Center in Florida aboard a SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft no earlier than January 2022 for an 8-day mission. Former NASA astronaut Michael Lopez Alegria is expected to serve as mission commander. Engineers at our Jet Propulsion Laboratory have created a 3D rendering of the Ingenuity helicopter's third flight on Mars, giving viewers an opportunity to experience that April 25th flight as if they were standing on the red planet watching it. The images for the video were provided by the Mastcam-Z imager on the Perseverance rover. Check out go.nasa.gov/3D Mars flight for more about how to view the video and how to create your own 3D glasses. Scientists at our Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia have developed a way to view typical satellite imagery in 3D, which can provide a more detailed look at storm clouds.
I wonder if we can do something with this on Daily Social Live, something with 3D. Let me know if you have any ideas. Write me. media@qptv.org. Let's continue.
And ultimately a better understanding of severe weather. This is a potential game changer for researchers who study thunderstorms, but anyone with a pair of red-blue 3D glasses can experience this immersive view. Head on over to go.nasa.gov/3D clouds to learn more and to see weather satellite imagery like you've never seen it before. That's what's up this week at NASA. For more on these and other stories, follow us on the web at nasa.gov/twan.
Check it out. We have NASA TV on QPTV.org, and you can look forward to a lot more NASA content on QPTV very soon. Finally, we'll discuss, rather not discuss, but we will show you a little bit of some of Queen's COVID Remembrance Day, May 1st. It took place in 3 parts. You can watch those 3 parts on qptv.org. The opening ceremony, the flower ceremony, and the closing ceremony, which I'm going to play a little bit of right now. Let's jump in. This was a major component of the ceremony. Took place in Forest Park Bandshell, and the seats were filled with these portraits of those lost COVID-19 in Queens. Let me jump ahead towards the end here.
SD, whether it be a spa day or an exotic vacation. My parents also knew the loss of a child when we lost my brother Kevin, and when I lost mine, they were there for me. Kathy and I, as well as our significant others, will miss them dearly. For our family and friends, I know that you know how generous, loyal, loving my parents were. You all experienced their kindness and warmth in one way or another. And I look forward to hearing those stories about their life. I look forward to hearing how my parents loved all those who they came across in our community. Because love is how we're going to get through this tragedy. Love for our fellow human beings is what's going to get us out of this pandemic. And so one last story before I close. One of the hardest times my mother had to face was being by herself raising 3 children when my dad was stationed overseas. During that time, my dad and her wrote each other many letters, all of which she kept. I haven't been able to read them all, but from the ones that I have read so far, what amazes me is how my parents relied on their faith in their Lord to get them through tough times. They always closed their letters reminding each other to pray. And so I read that letter And I don't have that letter, which was an always 8.5 by 14 legal pad with me today. But I will share with you their closing, my dad's closing to my mom. Well, honey, my love, I'll be waiting for your much-awaited response. Take good care of yourself and the kids and your mom. Don't strain yourself too much. Our dear Lord understands, and he'll help protect, guide, and bless us always. Let us not forget to pray and ask his blessings. Regards to all our friends. Kiss the kids for me. And honey, my warm embrace and hot kisses. Happy Mother's Day. Love, Tony. And so I extend the same wishes to you all while they wait our return with them in heaven. And I would like you to heed their message. Take good care of yourself, your kids, your parents. Don't stress yourself out too much. Our dear Lord understands, and he'll keep, protect, and guide you always. Let's not forget to pray and ask for his blessings. Regards to all of our friends, virtual hugs and angel kisses from above. And I only ask that you only pay this message of love forward. So thank you for allowing me to share my parents' story. Thank you to those who braved the pandemic to gather with us safely today. And we continue to pray for all of our families' safety so that we don't have to endure another tragedy like this again. Thank you.
You want to check out Queens COVID Remembrance Day? You can watch that. There's 3 parts on QPTV.org. That's it. That's all I have to say about that right now. It's a sad thing. Go to QPTV.org. The 3 parts: the opening ceremony, the flower ceremony, and the closing ceremony, which you just saw a little piece of. That's right, on QPTV.org. But now we are going to end the program. I want to remind you that tomorrow you can watch live the Digital New York Summit virtually on QPTV.org starting at 1 p.m. And if you are involved with anything digital regarding work and government services to the citizens, whether you're involved or whether you just want to be informed, you want to check this out. As you can see, it is not a tiny webinar. It's from 1 to 4:20 p.m. So it'll be in depth with plenty of incredibly notable and informative speakers. You want to check it out. This is brought to you. I head out the way. City and State, New York. And it'll be on QPTV.org tomorrow. And of course, you can check out all the rest of the programs on QPTV.org. Just very happy that you're here with us on Monday. We should be back tomorrow, hopefully right before the summit, right here on QPTV.org, QPTV's Daily Social Live. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll be back with more on what you should know from QPTV, because we can't do this without you, and we're here for you. That's a fact. We want you to become a part of our in real life social network. Go to QPTV.org to find out how to watch, learn, and create with QPTV. Tell your friends about us, share, and subscribe. Stay safe and be well.